As he woke up, Naruto picked himself up off the ground, seemingly dry even though there was a layer of water on the ground. It was like the water didn't seem to affect him at all. It wasn't natural. Have I been thrown into a sewers? No, this doesn't look like anywhere I've been in Konoha. How would anyone have even found me before? I was so far away from anyone, and nobody followed me there. That presence from before, what was that? The darkness and the sadness? Maybe you can track it down like I found it before. Naruto decided to do that, but he felt like the chakra was not just within him, but all around him, particularly in a certain direction. He had felt like that chakra had enveloped him before, so perhaps it was someplace where the strange chakra took him. No matter where he ended up, he needed to find the strange chakra. He began trudging through the water and vast corridors, mentally noting the direction that he took, noting left, right, another left, right, left. It seemed like hours had passed when Naruto felt he was getting closer. That presence, that chakra, it was the same dark, slightly ominous feeling as when he was playing with his chakra in Training Ground 98. Starting with a light jog, breaking into a sprint, Naruto followed his senses to what seemed to be the source of the chakra. A large, empty room with nothing in it but a cage. The cage seemed to be empty because of the darkness within. Where Naruto had hoped his answers would be, there was disappointment evident in the boy's features as he took a few steps forward and fell to his knees. He stayed in that position for a moment before deciding to get up. I will find it. I can't give up now, he spoke. He just knew that by finding the source, he could get answers. It was a gut feeling. Just as he stood up, the room burst into light flames of orange and red, revealing a large fox behind a cage where the wall once was, eyes malicious and intently staring at Naruto. I am the QB, the greatest of the nine-tailed beasts, and brother of the king of foxes. I've been sealed within you by that bastard fourth Hokage, but that doesn't mean that I am obliged to work with you. But I believe that you have potential to be strong, to be more than just my container. You have a chance to prove yourself worthy, boy, but do not take it lightly. The fox's voice rang out across the room, a little bit of killing intent following it. Just enough to create tension and fear, but not to incapacitate. Me? But I'm just an idiot prankster, a good for nothing. Why would you want me? Naruto fumbled over his words, hands tugging at the bottom of his shirt. He was nervous. He hadn't expected that following the source would lead him here, to where a tailed beast was. It all made sense now. They call him demon because of what was inside him, but he did something forcibly placed inside of him want to help him. He wasn't strong yet, and though he was hoping to become strong, he wasn't guaranteed to be. You think I have chosen wrong? I'll give you a chance. Partly because you're the idiot prankster. Think about it. If they underestimate you, then when the time is right, you can prove them all wrong. You have potential, boy. I know you do, because I have been sealed inside of you all this time. It is not easy feat to unlock your chakra at such a young age, all on your own. Still, do not get cocky about that. The fox became smaller, into about the size of a wolf, and slid through the bars, a trail of fire following and igniting Naruto's clothes, but not the boy himself. It was painless, nothing that could actually damage or hurt him. Still too shocked to speak, Naruto stood there as his vision was filled with smoke. But your prankster ways will be useful, after all, boy. Foxes are mischievous. Chapter 5. Naruto jolted up off the grass, blinking a few times to get rid of the sleep in his eyes. The moon was up high in the sky, its silver glow lighting up the night sky and illuminating the training ground. Although it should have been dark, it was nighttime after all. Naruto could see perfectly fine, down to the tiniest detail of the leaves that were above him, the small bugs that walked on them, even when the trees shaded most of the moonlight from view. Trudging almost silently through the thick trees away from the clearing, Naruto watched in awe and wonder as life moved around like he had never seen it before. Animals that would lay low during the day had emerged and wandered through the forest, and fireflies flew around them as if they were the constellations, bright and beautiful. It was pure magic, and he doubted that many people in Konoha would have seen something like this, even when it was right in their village. "Do you like my gift, boy?" The all-seeing eyes of the Kyuubi, immune to all illusion, able to pick out the most minuscule details in the user's surrounding. And of course, the ability to see perfectly clear in the dark. The Kyuubi's voice rang in his head, loud and clear, and made Naruto shiver, both because of the nicer tone that he didn't think was possible, especially from something that should hate him for being his jailer, and the suddenness of it all. Everything that happened to him was within a few hours, from locking his chakra to meeting the Kyuubi, and now these strange changes. "What exactly did you do to me, Kyuubi? I'm willing to bet that it isn't the only thing. Is this some part of your plan to trade me?" Naruto murmured, eyes subconsciously scanning the area for a water source. He was thirsty after spending so long outside, his mouth dry. It didn't take too long for him to find one, and begun to drink some water as the beast sealed inside of him began to speak once more. "Clever boy. I am to blame for these changes. I let some of my chakra into you while your levels were low, as much as I could because of the seal. It allowed me to make you better, you might say." Naruto could practically feel the fox wearing his sly grin, a strange sense of joy coming from the beast. "Better? In what ways? You did do this without my consent, so you better speak up," he told them, sitting up and dipping his feet into the stream to wash up some of the grime that came from multiple days outside without bathing. "For now, all I have done is enhance your brain by inserting knowledge, sort of like giving you memories of other people learning that make you learn those things too, if that makes sense, thus allowing you to pick up new skills faster, have more knowledge about speaking, which allows your speech to be more sophisticated and less childish, and increasing your memory. I've also given you the first stage of your Dojutsu, the Katsugan, which has the skills I told you earlier in terms of sight and seeing through illusions. There will be more in the future when you actually activate your Dojutsu, since those are just the passive effects, but for now, those skills shall suffice. With the amount of potential you have, boy, it shall not be long before you reach your goal." With that, the Kyuubi's voice faded away, leaving the grounds silent, except for the wildlife around them. They had been silent before, the conversation was all in Naruto's head, but it seemed more quiet now. Naruto pondered what the Kyuubi had said, eyes following the movements of animals that roamed. He knew he would need some food, but he would have to wait. He had gone longer without eating after all, so he knew he could last, but he was still hungry. His mind was occupied with new questions, wanting to know even more ever since he met the beast. What was his goal? He didn't have one yet, at least he thought he didn't, but deep down he knew. He wanted to become strong, both to show his family that he could be a ninja in the hopes they would accept him, but also to protect the precious people in his life. He did have people that cared for him, and that he cared for too, and those people were important. He didn't want to stray down the path of vengeance just because he had a hard life. That was also his goal. Slowly standing up, Naruto slipped into the shadows, running on instinct and newfound energy to get up and go home before the sun rose. Naruto silently entered his bedroom, after sliding his hand through the crack that he always left open just in case, and pushing the window open. He was in a small room upstairs, meaning he had to climb to get there. Luckily, he had never fallen down while trying. It would be very painful if he did so. but there was enough window ledges and things that meant he could get up to the top safely. Not worrying too much about the grimy state he was in, he silently pushed open the bedroom door and crept to the library where his father had been earlier in the evening. The room was filled with books and scrolls, and whilst not family jutsu, which was kept in a vault and under numerous seals, it still had plenty of good information. D-rank jutsus and C-rank jutsus of all elements for Motoshi and Kotsuko as they grew up. Higher rank jutsus were in sealed area for when they become genin or chunin, depending on their progress when training. Searching through the room, it wasn't long before Naruto found what he needed. Various scrolls on chakra control exercises, the Academy Taijutsu style, 3 of the Academy Jutsus for the final exam, and scrolls on shuriken and kunai throwing. These were all the things that he knew he would need. He would need to learn the basics now. By first light, these were all stashed away under a loose floorboard beneath Naruto's bed, ready for when he started training later in the day. But first he had to pay a visit to a certain someone. Naruto ran through the streets of Konoha, oblivious to the strange stares he was receiving from the villagers. These weren't stares of hate, however, not like he usually receives if he was running through the village. No, these stares was because it looked like somebody had been hurting an innocent child who they had never seen before. In his rush to prepare for training later in the day, he didn't have time to wash up from the day before, and had not seen his reflection as he usually would. His hair was a shade of burnt orange, the same as the fox, and it was less spiky. It was more of a smooth hair like the Uzumaki did. What was unlike any would make the connection unless they recognized him from what he used to look like. His whisker marks had faded from existence, courtesy of the Kyuubi wanting to surprise unsuspecting victims, leaving his cheeks bare, and his skin was a darker shade, more of an olive or tan, which Naruto didn't pay much attention to in his excitement. He was grimy as well, covered in dirt from being pushed over, and grass stained his clothes. In addition to his battered and torn clothing, Naruto was quite the sight, and most of the villagers felt sorry for the boy. Naruto had learned to ignore most of the looks that he got, and just assumed that they were glaring as usual before continuing on to Shizune's house. The boy knocked loudly at the door, following it up by a yell of, "Shizune-chan, it's me!" He waited for her to come to the door, tapping his foot on the concrete. As the door slid open, he was met with a gaping woman and a sniffing pig. "Naruto?" Shizune breathed, looking to the boy and Tauntaun for confirmation. There was a nod on both ends, and she took this chance to look closely at the boy. The face shape was the same, but everything else was different. The skin, the hair, and even the eyes. They were a shade of chilling crimson, similar to blood, and were currently looking at Shizune very intently as he waited a response. She felt a shiver run up her spine as their eyes met, but kept it hidden as any well-trained kunoichi should be able to do. "Is there something wrong with me, Shizune-chan?" Naruto asked, tilting his head and giving her a small smile. "You look different, that is all." "Did you get a haircut?" she replied, thinking about how to tell Naruto in her head. While she was no Nara, she knew that any plan was better than none, since Naruto seemed unaware to his new appearance. "Come in, Naruto. I'll have breakfast ready in about half an hour, but we can talk while I cook if you would like." Stepping aside, he took off his shoes before he shook his head, saying something that surprised Shizune. "I'm working on meditating to improve my understanding of my chakra. I unlocked it recently and it was benefited me enormously to do this." This was a lie, but the origins came from something he had heard his parents say once, so he presumed it was reliable. The kunoichi in front of him gave him another odd glance, before wordlessly nodding and wandering to the kitchen. Now was his chance to talk to the fox, who he suspected had changed his appearance. He had taken notice of his skin, and guessed he had done more than just change his skin tone. Naruto couldn't believe he had been so dense, but there wasn't much he could do about it. Sitting down in the living room, he began to meditate, searching for the entrance to where the fox could be found. "This place is called your mindscape, boy. You do not need to meditate every time. Just imagine being here for a few seconds, and you shall arrive." The fox loomed above him from within his cage before grunting. "You want to know about your appearance, no? I simply made a few changes to you. No extra additions like canines, ears, or tails. But I did change some of your DNA. Nothing that will cause hindrance to you, as I will not tolerate a weak host. It will prepare you for trading in the future. Naruto sighed, not really surprised that the fox had done something like that. He nodded in understanding before asking, "May I see what I look like, Kyuubi? You're the one with control over the mindscape. Create a mirror." Although skeptical about what the fox said at first, he was genuinely curious to find out what he looked like, and pleasantly surprised when the mirror appeared and he found out. Even though he no longer looked much like his biological family, the new look suited him, and made him camouflage better in Konoha's forest environment than he could before with his blonde hair. Of course you would appreciate it. You humans are always so caught up in appearances to make yourselves attractive, but I prefer practical. Although other hair colors may look cool or reveal family traits, what good is a head of yellow or pink hair if it gets you killed on a mission? The orange I've chosen is the perfect shade. The yellow would get him killed because it would make him look like his father and cause potential enemies to attack, and other bright colors weren't natural. Just as he was about to reply to Kurama, though, a voice seemed to call him from outside the mindscape. "We will continue this conversation later, Kyuubi. Or do you have a name? I don't know, but I promised Shizune I would have breakfast with her." He felt himself leave the mindscape, but just as he did, he heard a voice. "Kurama." Naruto smiled softly as he looked at Shizune and walked over to the table. "Kurama, that's a nice name," Naruto mumbled, taking a bite of rice from his bowl. The black-haired woman asked across from him, getting more curious by the second about the sudden change of the child in front of her. "Nothing," Naruto said, a little too quickly. He focused on eating the food, trying to avoid the conversation that was bound to happen at one point or another. Noticing this, Shizune went from a different approach, asking him about his training. If he wanted to avoid the conversation, she wouldn't force him to speak. She would get it out of him anyways. "So, you unlocked your chakra, you said. That is wonderful, Naruto, and at such a young age. I'm sure your parents would be proud." Shizune beamed at him, eyes closed, but when she opened them, she was met with a sullen face. "They don't, know that I unlocked it. They were busy training my younger siblings, and I did it on my own, following the exercises they gave Motochi and Katsuko." Naruto looked on, placing his chopsticks neatly on a bowl. "Oh, Naruto, I didn't realize that was the case. Please forgive my rudeness. If you would like, I would love to help you with any training in my spare time. You're more than welcome to come in any time. Okay? Maybe the Hokage can't see you for you, but I certainly can, and I'm sure that you'll become a great ninja." This cheered up Naruto a bit, and he stood up and gave her a hug. She was one of his precious people, one of the people he wanted to grow strong for. Though he knew she was strong and capable as a Kunoichi, he still wanted to be able to protect her if need be. "Thank you, Shizune-chan. I really appreciate it. Now if you would excuse me, I found some exercises in the library that I plan to try out today." Naruto grinned at her before running towards the door. "Be careful, Naruto, and good luck training," she shouted as he left, walking to the door to watch him run into the distance. "I do hope you have a success, Naruto. Kami knows you deserve it." Smash that like button and comment key if you want another part.